Have you ever noticed how loud a silent house can feel? It's 5 o'clock on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Outside, the sky is a heavy shade of grey, and the traffic of the city feels miles away, even though it's just outside the window. But inside this kitchen, the silence feels heavier than the rain. An Indian kitchen is a unique country in itself, isn't it? It has its own laws, its own unspoken rules, and its own map passed down through generations. For decades, this specific kitchen belonged to one woman. Every jar of spice, every dent on the aluminum vessels, every stain on the counter had a story that belonged to her, the mother-in-law. And now there is a second person standing in this country. Meera adjusted the pallu of her sari, her fingers slightly damp with sweat despite the cool rain outside. She looked at the old brass container in front of her. Inside it was a family secret, the maa ki dal recipe that her husband grew up eating, the one her mother-in-law, Ma, had mastered over 40 years. Meera's heart was beating just a little too fast. In the sudden hiss of that pressure cooker, Meera did not just hear steam. She heard her own thoughts. She heard the heavy, invisible questions that follow so many of us throughout our lives. Am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? Would it turn out good? Am I enough? We live in a world where everyone is performing. On our phone screens, in our workplaces, even in our family WhatsApp groups. Everyone seems to have it all together. Everyone is cooking the perfect meal, living the perfect life, making no mistakes. And when you marry into a new home, that pressure doesn't just double up, it becomes a constant shadow. Meera remembered the way Ma had handed her the ladle earlier that morning. Ma hadn't said anything cruel. In fact, Ma rarely spoke loudly. But sometimes cold silence is harder to read than anger. It leaves a space, and when there is a space, our minds fill it with deepest fears. Meera felt like an outsider looking through a glass window. A normal Indian girl trying to fit into a story, trying to fit into a new home. She wanted to be seen. She wanted everyone to be happy. And she wanted someone to look at her and say, I know you're trying and it is okay. But right now, the kitchen felt like an examination hall. Meera measured the spices. 1 spoon of cumin, 2 spoons of coriander powder. Her hands were trembling slightly. She could hear Ma's footsteps in the hallway outside. Ma was walking slowly, her old joints making a faint sound against the floorboards. Every step felt like a countdown. Why are we so afraid of our own mistakes? Why do we build these thick walls around ourselves, pretending we are strong, pretending we never slip? Perhaps It is because deep down in our unconscious mind, we carry a childhood fear. The fear of the red mark on an exam paper. The fear of a parent's disappointed face. We carry this belief that if we show our mess, if we reveal our weaknesses, people will stop loving us. We think love is a reward of being perfect. Meera reached for the small steel container of turmeric, the haldi that gives life and color to every Indian meal. Her fingers were slick with oil from the pan. She misjudged the distance. Her sleeve caught the edge of the shelf. A single mistake. The container hit the floor with a sound that felt as loud as thunder in a quiet kitchen. The bright yellow turmeric spilled everywhere, across the pristine white counter, over the edge, raining down onto the mosaic floor like a burst of unwanted sunlight. Meera froze. Her breath caught in her throat. It wasn't just about the spilled turmeric. In that single moment, Meera felt like she had shattered. The pressure of the last few months, the isolation of trying to belong in a new house, the exhausting effort of hiding her flaws, it all came crashing down with that steel bowl. She braced herself. She closed her eyes, waiting for the heavy sigh, waiting for the familiar turning away, the cold words, or worse, the look of complete disappointment. The footsteps stopped at the doorway of the kitchen. Meera kept her eyes glued to the yellow stain on the floor. She could see the hem of Ma's simple cotton sari right at the edge of the kitchen tiles. The air felt thick and suffocating. How many of us have stood in our own ruined kitchens, staring at our own spilled lives, just waiting for someone to condemn us? But the anger did not come. Instead, there was only the sound of Ma slowly bending down. Her old knees made a slight cracking sound. Meera opened her eyes, startled. Ma did not look angry. Her face did not have the coldness Meera had feared. Instead, Ma held a damp, faded kitchen cloth in her wrinkled hands. Without saying a word, Ma reached out and began to wipe the yellow powder from the counter. Ma's movements were steady, not hurried, not annoyed, just very gentle. Ma, I'm sorry, Meera whispered, her voice cracking, the tears she had been holding back all day finally threatening to spill. I was just trying to make the dal perfect. I wanted it to taste exactly like yours. Ma stopped wiping. She looked up at Meera, her eyes surrounded by the deep lines of a long life, softened completely. A very gentle, knowing smile appeared on her face. You want to know a secret, Meera? Ma's voice was soft. Meera nodded silently. 40 years ago, when I first came to this house as a bride, Ma said, turning her face toward the window, looking at the rain, I did not just spill the haldi. On my very first Diwali, I forgot about the milk on the stove. It boiled over, ruined the festive kheer, and burnt the bottom of the vessel so badly that we had to throw it away. Meera stared at her mother-in-law. To her, Ma had always been an institution, a flawless, unbreakable figure who never made mistakes in the kitchen or in her life. Hearing that Ma had once burnt the Diwali kheer felt like discovering that a queen had once lost her crown. Your father-in-law's mother was a strict woman, Ma continued, her voice filled with a quiet nostalgia. I was terrified. I sat on the kitchen steps right there, crying my eyes out, thinking I would never belong here, thinking I wasn't enough. Ma took Meera's hand. Her palms were rough from years of manual work, but they felt warmer than anything Meera had felt in a long time. A kitchen is not a courtroom, Meera, and a family is not an exam. The dal does not taste good because the measurements are perfect. It tastes good because the person making it is at peace and is cooking with love. So don't cook with fear, cook with freedom. In that one beautiful admission, the heavy walls between the two women completely crumbled. Meera was not just forgiven for a ruined dish or a messy counter. She was seen, truly seen, for the first time. She realized that the perfection she was chasing didn't exist, and the woman she was so afraid of was just an older version of herself, someone who had also known fear, isolation, and the desperate desire to be accepted. And slowly, they finished the cooking together that evening. Ma didn't take over the ladle. She just stood close by, offering small, quiet nods of encouragement. When the dal was finally poured into the serving bowl, it wasn't perfect. It was a little darker than usual and maybe a little too thick. But as the family sat together on the floor that night, sharing a single plate of food, nobody complained, because the taste of forgiveness is far sweeter than the taste of perfection. So, my dear friend, as you listen to this story today, take a moment to look at your own life. What are the containers of turmeric you have spilled lately? What are the mistakes you are keeping hidden in the dark corners of your mind? Terrified that if people see them, they will stop loving you. How long have you been carrying the exhausting weight of trying to look perfect to the world that doesn't even care? Let this story be the gentle hand that reaches out to you today. You don't have to carry your fears alone. You don't have to be flawless to be worthy of love, connection, and true belonging. Your true self-worth doesn't come from a life with zero mistakes, but it comes from your courage to be authentic, to be messy, and to keep going. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Let the pressure go. You are doing just fine. And if you are listening to this, I am seeing you. You are known, and you are completely enough the way you are. I love you. Bye.